Greetings, Guzzlers. Oh, hang on, better than having a swig of beer. That's a warm one. You can notice I've got a book in my hand. Released yesterday, bought it, it came yesterday. It's the, I say, latest Hairy Biker's book. Unfortunately, before it could be completed, Dave sadly passed away, but so I decided, because that's what they were going for next, he was going to finish it off and release it, and it was going to be a collection of their sort of family favourites. Okay, and we're going to make one. So literally, I got this book yesterday, I was flicking through it, and I thought, oh, it's something that sounds quite nice. Sausage balls with Worcestershire sauce. Dead simple. So that's what we're going to make. The Hairy Biker's sausage balls with Worcestershire sauce. Who knew that sausages had balls? A bit like Tesco's free-breasted chickens. Did you know that your humble sausage has 3 balls? Well, it does in this case. What we wanted to do is basically get 3 sausage balls out of each sausage. So we're going to... Don't dare go on the bleeding floor. We just want to skin these things, okay? So I'm just going to remove the skins, and then we're going to divide each one up into 3 balls. There we go. 1, 2. Got a bit of skin on that. Yeah, I thought we did have. Oh, excuse me, I've been just sneezing, couldn't stop sneezing. So, I'm just going to go through now. Depends how many sausages you want. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 12 sausages here, and I'm just going to divide them up into some balls. So there's my plate of sausage balls. Now, the only other thing you're going to want is a pan to cook them in, and as it happens, I've got my Hairy Bikers. I don't know if you can read that on there. Hairy Bikers Hexclad pan or Hexclad pan. Now, what you want to do into that is put about a tablespoon or so of oil. Move the beer so you don't spill it. And the first thing we're going to do is start cooking up our balls. So I've got that about a medium heat, and we're going to brown them a bit on all sides, if you like. And then, like I said to you, we want Worcestershire sauce. So you have to buy the big bottle of Worcestershire sauce because you want 200 mils of that. So I've got 200 mils of that weighed out, measured out. Okay. And then the only other thing you want is some sesame oil and some sesame seeds. And that's all there is to it. So, just going to let that oil get up to temperature. Pardon me. Get a cold beer because it's now in the fridge. That was a warm one. She couldn't buy any cold beer, she said. So she bought me some beer. I had to have a warm one start. The other one's coming. But I digress. Got to get our balls brown. Right, I've just flicked the balls. I've got to be careful because the ones in the middle cooking quicker than the ones around the outside, so I've got to keep rotating. Now, they don't actually come up with a serving suggestion for the, what you're going to add these with. We're just going to have them like this. So the ideal sort of like bonfire night coming up soon, Guy Fawkes night, bonfire night, whatever you want to call it in the UK. Perhaps you don't know about that anywhere else in the world, but it's the night we celebrate, weirdly, some people might argue, not perhaps so weirdly, the attempt by Guy Fawkes and his conspirators to blow up the Houses of Parliament. They basically managed to stash barrels of gunpowder underneath the main Parliament building with a view that they were going to then blow it up with everybody in it. Guy Fawkes was going to be, well, he was sort of like in charge of keeping his eye on it but unfortunately someone grassed him up. And he got captured. And so obviously the plot was foiled. So we talk about the gunpowder plot. And we celebrate it every 5th of November. But anyway, that seems to have gone off. I've got it there. So I'm just going to keep rotating these brownie balls. I'll better drink my bloody Worcestershire sauce, although I wouldn't mind because I do like Worcestershire sauce. Drink a bit more of my beer. And then I might tell you a little bit more about Guy Fawkes, why not? So now we're going to just pour over all that Worcestershire sauce. Now, we want to reduce this down. We want to get this to a nice sticky consistency. Why am I a bloody politician? And apologies for the background noise. The wife's made me put bloody Rivals on. The new sort of Disney series from the Ginny Cooper novel. And if you don't know what that's about, well, basically it's a lot of shagging going on. And it just started with a supersonic shag. Literally, it was on board Concorde. Well, in theory. Anyway, so what we do now is we just cook this away in this, constantly turning it around. Well, I say constantly, giving it a good stir every now and again. We want to reduce all that down, get it nice and sticky, get them all nice and coated, and then the only final things we're going to need is some sesame oil and about a generous excuse me, a generous tablespoon of sesame seeds, but they are all more for adding right at the end. Just to sort of finally add a little bit of a coating to the balls. So I was telling you about Guy Fawkes. He got caught, and at first he gave him a false name. He wouldn't tell him who he was. So they started torturing him, and as usual, they sort of start with a bit of gentle torture. All right, my mate, give you a bit of gentle torture, you know. A little prod here, a little poke here, you know, we don't want to upset you, mate. But we might do if you don't give us some fucking answers. And he wouldn't. And so the torture got a little bit more torturous. Eventually he told him his name and revealed who some of his co-conspirators were. And they were all rounded up. And of course they were sentenced to be executed. And back then, it wasn't just simply chopping your fucking head off. So it's starting to reduce them down, it's starting to thicken up. It's still, I mean, quite runny, but I'm keeping them going. You can see they're now starting to take on that lovely brown colour. So, although we're about to eat, I'm telling you about what they did. So how they, excuse me, I have actually been quite ill for the last 3 weeks. Finally getting over it, but I'm still a little bit chesty, so I apologise for that. But the chosen form of execution was, let's make a spectacle of it and let's make you suffer like fucker, buggery. So you were hung, drawn and quartered. Now, I've always been a bit confused about the drawing bit, because the first bit, they actually drew you or dragged you, sometimes in a cart, sometimes literally across the ground, feet first, to your place of execution. And then, once you were there, they would hang you. Now, normally, in proper hanging executions, the whole point is to execute you, to kill you. And so it's all worked out that based on your weight and size and everything like that, the drop is designed so it snaps your neck, so I suppose kills you instantly. But they don't want to do that with old Guy Fawkes and all these other conspirators. In them days, they wanted to make them suffer. So rather than doing the drop to snap the necks, they effectively did it so that they didn't really drop much and they strangled them. So of course they start suffocating. And the idea being that then, having made you suffer oh, you're almost dead, oh, get him down quick, don't let him die yet, the bastard. So they would then take the pressure off. Now they didn't do this to women because of sort of decency type thing. Women would have just been burnt and stoned. But the man, first thing they did, having onion and they emasculated him. Now if you're castrated, they chop your testicles off. And they emasculate and they chop the lot off. And they make sure you see what they're doing, even though you can bloody feel the bloody thing. And then, having done that, chuck it on the fire in front of you. And then they would draw out your innards. They would cut you open and draw out your innards, again presenting them to you as they're doing it, chucking them on the fire. And eventually at some point, for all that, you're going to die. But you've suffered a lot. Now Guy Fawkes, I tell you what, the fumes coming from this, the Worcestershire sauce, it's quite potent. It's obviously quite vinegary. It is starting to thicken up, it's starting to reduce down. If you don't like Worcestershire sauce, you probably won't like this. Anyway, Guy Fawkes, whether he was a bit more savvy or whether they messed up, basically, he took a jump. When they went to do the hanging bit, he did a jump and snapped his neck. So although they went through all the motions and doing all the other bits, he was dead. So he never felt it. And that was the end of Guy Fawkes and his conspirators, co-conspirators. Some of whom didn't manage to kill themselves before they did the nasty bits. And that was the end of that. But since then, we celebrate in England, this is 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. We build bonfires, although it's getting a little bit un-PC now. You know, think of the environment. We'd make an effigy, a guy, after Guy Fawkes, and he would be put on top of the bonfire and burnt, even though that wasn't actually how he was executed. And we let off fireworks to replicate the exploding gunpowder, which didn't ever explode, but anyway. Right, so we're just going to need to carry on letting this thicken a bit. It's starting to get there. Oh, it's definitely getting the vinegary fumes off of this. Of course, just have to clean your chest. Right, we're almost there. It's got nice and reduced down, but I'm going to give it a little bit longer. Now, I mentioned bonfire night. Essentially, they just talk about this being almost like for party food. That you could serve this up as one of the many dishes in a party. It's not intended like a main course or obviously anything like that. So, given it's nice and hot and spicy, just thought might go down with bonfire night. Well, basically you can use it anytime you like. So, just keeping my eye on it now. Almost ready, I think, to add the final ingredients. Right, I'm not sure that's going to reduce down much more. So, I'm just going to turn the heat down. Although, I think they actually say turn it off, so I'm going to turn it off, actually. And then, we're going to take out, to be honest, I'm not really sure we need it, but it is the sesame oil, and we're just going to drizzle over, whoops, about a little, sort of, couple of teaspoons worth. What I might do is just toss that all around, because obviously it didn't get all over it. And then we're just going to sprinkle over those sesame seeds. I'm just going to give it a bit of a mix. Put about half or so in. And now just going to sprinkle the rest over. And final little toss. And now he says let it cool, because it's going to be rather hot. But you know me, got to give one a go now. So let's whip one out. There we go. So there's our ball. Does look a bit hot. It is hot. Lovely spicy tang. This is all down to that Worcestershire sauce. I think you really do need to let them cool a little bit. Otherwise it's just so too hot. The sauce is hot as in boiling hot. And you don't necessarily get to appreciate it. So, but there you go. There's Si and Dave's, the Hairy Bikers, sausage balls in Worcestershire sauce. Very, very tasty. Nice little party snack. Bonfire night, whenever. Cheers.